God got a plan for me, for me. I know God got a plan for me, for me.
Yo, before we get started, make sure you subscribe to my channel, hit the like button. Also, make sure you hit that notification bell so you can be notified for more videos like this one right here. What's good? What's good? Welcome in. Welcome in. Come on in. Come on in. We're going to chop it up with the latest with the Whittaker family. And it can be considered good news to some. It can be considered bad news to others. Some of the family members have went to the state. And you got the three names, don't you, YJ?
Yeah, Ray, Timmy, and Lorraine all are with the state, are wards of the state at this very moment. So
Yeah, and a lot was being said that that was Eric's intention, that he was trying to get them taken away, or them going to the state. And of course, Eric said he's never done that. He's never attempted to do that. And all of a sudden, look what happens, man. Coincidence?
Man. Once the state's involved, you really have no control. And from what I'm hearing from a few different people, and I've seen it in comment sections, like people saying I called them as well. That's one of the things. Once that tumbleweed gets rolling, and if the state gets a certain amount of calls,
Right.
and you know how big this case is, how big this story is, all them people calling the state, they're liable. Like, they have to do something at that point.
Right.
They can't just say, no, this is internet folly, we can't do nothing. Like, so as far as Eric's intentions, I don't think it was his intention this at all. But you talk about intentions and cause and effect. Your intent may not be the effect that you wanted from.
So do you think it was from a call that he made? Or, of course, we know that there was some calls made. Or was it a call from one of the family members? And they was like, okay, we got to go over there now. Because the way it seemed like to me is he got this information after it happened. Like, he didn't even know they was taken until he happened to, I guess, go over there, or he got word.
Because afterwards, he got it afterward. After the fallout between Patrick and Eric is when he got the information. I don't think he was no longer in communication with Patrick, I don't think, whenever the night that Patrick went live with, Betty crying and the police came and there was an ambulance, picture of the ambulance and all of that in front of the house. So yeah, he found out definitely after the dust settled from them being taken.
Yeah, the only reason I asked that question because I just feel like for people who thought he was intentionally doing that right there is proof that that wasn't him. I think his contact with the state was not for the removal of the family, it's to get help. There was the issue they had with BJ. Law enforcement got involved, and of course, once that happens, the state is involved, and so I don't think it was intentionally from his standpoint to have them removed. But like you said, all these phone calls, and I think it was one more phone call, which I can't pinpoint any one person, but I can imagine somebody said something. They just rushed over there, man. That's how I feel. And I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think that plays a part. That plays a part. You got one person, and they were in communication with Eric. There's all these little situations. There's so many. I would say there's probably a list of 20 different things, talking points when it comes to Eric, Patrick, and when it comes to who initially did what, how this initially happened, and all of these little intricacies of the story And to me, a lot of those little intricacies are communication breakdowns and intent breakdowns, for as intent of Patrick and intent of Eric. Because and I do think mistakes were made. I do think there were mistakes made on both sides. My goal is, I'm not really trying to pinpoint who was more wrong here. I think there were mistakes made on both sides, but ultimately the family, that's to me what's the most important. And as we see now with the family being broken up, it's like, damn,
Right.
like man,
That's the sad part. I don't think
yeah,
nobody wanted that. This family been together for a long time, and being in the mental state or mental capacity that these three that has been taken away, you don't know how this is going to affect them, man. And that's what bothers me. That really bothers me because once you're used to being around a certain people your whole entire life, and now you're in an environment that you don't recognize, that can
yeah,
play an important. It can play the downfall of their mental state, man. It can. I've seen it happen.
yeah.
But
That's fact.
you want to go ahead and get into some of this video with Eric as he explained or try to explain what happened.
Yeah, we can. I guess start it from the beginning. I'm pull it back. Uh, but yeah, we could do that, and then we'll. I kind of want to chop up the whole state of the ward, what it means to be a state of the ward, and what it would take for them to come back, because
Oh yeah, yeah.
it's not an overnight process. You know, it happens overnight getting taken, but it does not happen the same way in reverse going back. So we're gonna talk about it.
Just like marriage.
Right. Ooh.
Ray, Lorraine, and Timmy has been taken. I don't know what to tell you. I'm trying to find out something. This was a recipe for disaster. We went 3 days in a row to get that protective order. 2 days we got denied. After the first 2 days it got denied, and I'm going to get comments out of here, guys. I can't look at that. That's why I haven't been on social media. I don't even want to look at it. Not after what's going on.
And mind you, the protective order, they were able to get it because of the actions of BJ, or what they were saying about BJ.
Correct.
We went 2 days to get a protective order, and then we didn't get it. The only option we had at that point was to get adult protective services involved. And then me and Timmy went and met with adult protective services one day. Timmy was claiming he had, not claiming, he told us he had been beat by BJ. Betty said she had. Larry never told us he was, but Betty told us that she saw BJ hit him.
All right. My question is, what does that look like when he told him that BJ hit him? Like, was that question asked to Timmy,
It
or
was,
because he
yeah,
can't just go over there and tell anyone, "Hey, BJ
right.
hit me." You feel me?
Yeah, it was a question asked, and it was a head nod and a yeah. That's Timmy. That's about how Timmy responds. It's gonna be a yay, nay, or in a head nod, or in some type of hand motion. He uses his hands sometimes. So
So that means he do understand questions. Is that what you're saying?
yes, I've seen him understand questions. Yeah.
Okay. And I'm just checking because these are allegations that's being made on BJ. We already know she does drugs, but now we're going into domestic violence. So I just wanted to make sure that was the
Right.
case.
Right.
Then, when we were supposed to be meeting with adult protective services, and Betty was supposed to be going with me, which they were meeting her to give her 8 hours of caretaking, she no-showed and was off with Brandon.
Brandon is BJ's son.
That's when Adult Protection Services came down there, because at this point, I'm broadcasting all over Facebook that I'm wanting them to do what just happened. They came down there, told Betty, no, he's trying to build you a home. Which, guys, as of a couple of days ago, the Amish had agreed. We had permits, everything was ready to go, until I saw you-know-who back on the property. It's going to get good. I never went home.
So he said, which was all gonna happen until I seen, and I, from Eric's words, and he said, crackhead fingers are BJ's fingers in that window, and he said his heart dropped to the floor when he seen that. And with that being said, I think at the time I was like, something about, this is a family, as we know. They've been around each other their whole life. Is that the deal breaker? And I posed that question to a lot of people at that time, and I think a lot of people in the comment section when I did that, they're saying, yes, that's deal breaker. BJ can't be. And I don't know how. I actually never really gave my true, thoughts about that, but hindsight is 2020, and I don't know if that's a deal breaker at this point, being what we see now. Like, what's the worst of two evils with that? When, what's the worst? Is it having BJ around, or is it, splitting the family up? Which one I don't know.
Well, I get. That's a great question. Let me just start by saying that you got a great point when you even bring it up, because I don't really think anyone thought about that either. But I don't think was something they didn't want to think about, or separate the family. But at the same time, their safety is important, right? So You're like, which one would be better? And I think this is what they did: getting rid of BJ, or getting rid of 3 of our family members that need us.
Right.
So I think it would be hard to choose the state route, but look what happened. It happened anyway. But I don't think it's the end all be all, because I believe there are steps that can be taken to get them back home, and we know we'll get into that in a little bit. But with BJ, we already know what happened. That got terminated, so she's back on the goddamn property. So,
yeah, or it really terminated. Actually, Eric, I guess he mixed up his days somehow. He actually admitted to this, where he mixed up his days, where he thought the 10 days was on this day and they go back on this day, but it was actually before that. In which he was at the Amish. He was meeting with the Amish the day that the protection order went up. And he was doing all this other stuff, the day that this came up. And I think he said something to the fact that he lost track of time or whatnot. Then you hear Patrick say on his live, and that's the thing, it's all one side, other side. One side, other side. This is going to be the pattern of this video. Because Patrick said on the other side, when he was talking to Betty in the car, Betty said that I guess they had not given there was no paper as to when they should, like, they weren't given any paperwork. That's what Patrick said. He said they hadn't given the Whittaker, Betty and Larry were never given exact date of when it was. And Patrick had the paper, is what Betty said. But with all of this, it's like, how do you gauge? I mean, who's telling what? I don't know. And Betty, for one, I would say highly influenced. Highly influenced when it comes to asking her questions. You ask her a question on Tuesday, she'll answer it one way. And then you ask her 2 Tuesdays from now, that same question, she'll ask it the complete opposite. So that's what makes it so fucking hard.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we kind of touched on her. Like maybe she's just riding away with whoever she's riding with. She's gonna be a yes person. You know, she might, like you
Yeah,
said, she'll answer one way with one person and answer a whole completely opposite way with another person. And I didn't
yeah,
want to think that about her, but now that I'm seeing how things are unfolding, that might be an issue that could be somewhat a bigger issue than we know, because
right,
you're not answering truthfully, you're causing a problem.
right, right. I agree.
We were told when we got that protective order that if Betty talked to BJ or Larry, not just BJ, someone saying Patrick saying this is because of BJ. I mean, probably is. She's not supposed to be there, guys. She got caught cutting down telephone wire, melting the casing off, and $25,000 worth of copper line. That I've been told, allegedly, get this, that Larry knew about it too. The copper. Yeah, it gets better.
So yeah, Eric is fed up at this point, and he did admit that on a live after this that yeah, his emotions was running high on this, and the next one after this he was a little bit more, you know, calm, you know, speaking a little bit different after this live, but yeah,
Yeah. I mean, he has the right to feel the way he feels. If his heart is in it, then I would expect these like, same emotions to come out.
yeah,
So then, all of this goes down. They say he's trying to get you to home. We try to make this like water under the bridge. On Thursday, we go to the Amish. That was the day, I guess, that the court date was. Guys, I was told 10 days. 10 days from that day is what we had with that protective order. If you go back to every live, that's what I said. I, honest to God, thought we had 10 days. Now, the first 2 days when we were talking, I could have swore I saw like a September 9th or 10th date. But regardless, and you'll find out why. I'm out here going to the Amish. I'm out here getting building permits. I'm out here taking everybody, doing everything. I was the only one doing anything. Literally, the only one doing anything until my friends got here. Which makes me so angry. What seemed like a normal day, we went, talked about the permits. I came on, give you guys the live, let you see what was going on, flood zones, everything that's going on. And I told Betty, they're not going to allow you to put the home there. One, it's supposedly not even your property, where your home is right now. And it's in the flood zone, all the way over to where Larry's house was, where the camper went. There was a piece of property on the very back that was flat, where they could have built. And guess what? They wouldn't have been where they were, could have got a new address where people aren't showing up to their house in the middle of the night. It would have been perfect. They could have been isolated. I came, told Betty about that. Everything was good. Everything. She said, I like that idea. Patrick told me at one point in time that Betty said she didn't want her house back there. Even though in a video, Betty tells me, I always wanted a house back there. My sister Judy used to be back there. Well, and then I'm here for Patrick. Well, Betty doesn't want her house back there. When I say something to Betty, but Eric, I never said that. Regardless, we went walking the property and was going to try to find out what was going on. I noticed when I was walking the property on the backside, there is a place called Devil's Backbone. I found 2 campfires. So, definitely eyebrow raised, right? Betty tells me that Timmy, or Lorraine, is missing Timmy. And I know she was. She loves her son, guys. She loves her son. And she said,
So yeah, I wanted to kind of get into, this whole state of the ward situation, because that's the main thing for me. Um, Ray Timmy Lorraine. If there was no Ray Timmy Lorraine, this whole case would not be as big as it is. This whole story would not be as big as it, because that's who everybody fell in love with.
Right.
That's who everybody fell in love with. Ray's big smile. Timmy, that just big old smile. And Lorraine with the heart of gold, just sitting back drinking her Coca-Cola. That's what got I feel people into this story. That's what got me into it. Larry
Yeah.
didn't get me into it. Larry
No.
came along at a certain time. Mark was already, so um as far as the being a ward to the state is the term. And I'm gonna just read. It says to be a ward of the state means that a person is under the legal guardianship and care of the state because they are unable to care for themselves or manage their affairs due to age, illness, disability, or lack of family support. Uh, with that initial definition, do you think that they qualify? That's just,
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. There's a lot that we found out, recently that maybe some people didn't know that also helps them qualify to be a ward
yes.
of the state. And
When
I
it
think
comes to,
that's the most important thing that we're gonna touch on in a moment.
yeah, you talking about the abuse, right? Or is that
Not of course, the abuse,
okay?
but what
Okay,
what we found out later.
yeah. Okay, it says the state, through an appointed guardian, oversees the individual's well-being, making important decisions regarding their medical care, living situation, and finances for their protection and best interests. Why a person becomes a ward of the state. Adults can become wards of the state due to incapacity such as several mental illnesses, cognitive impairment, and or other disabilities that prevent them from making safe decisions for themselves. Lack of support. The state may intervene when an individual has no competent, trusted family member to provide guardianship and support. Um, in the state, yeah, basically it's like they're the guardian.
Right. And with that being said, you would look at Larry, you would look at Betty, like you'd be like, what about them? Obviously, they had to be getting a check from the state, from the government, because
Right.
if we're gonna say those three was the only ones that was not incompetent, everybody else could take care of themselves, then why did they remove them when they had Larry and Betty, right? So
Yeah.
obviously something wasn't, and in my head I was thinking this already. I didn't want to say it because I didn't know if that was gonna be considered rude or not. But the way they respond, the way they talk,
uh,
something. The elevator don't go all the way to the top floor, bro. I just don't agree with that.
damn.
And I swear I don't want to sound
Yeah.
heartless, but
Yeah.
that's just what I see.
Yeah.
They may have the sense to maybe survive in this world,
Oh yeah.
but
To take care of, like,
yeah, to take care of somebody else, another human life,
right.
for them to be responsible for that. Look how
Yeah.
they living, bro. Look how they living. Let's be honest.
And I do know Eric had mentioned, Ray sitting in his feces, coming and coming into the house, and you just, it's the smell just hitting you, like, just like a strong smell. And Eric did say when they took Ray to the barber shop that time to get a haircut, I guess Larry had put a diaper on Ray, because yes, Ray, I would say him and Lorraine are probably more. They need care more than Timmy.
Yes.
I would just say that, to say the least.
Yes.
So yes, you have to accommodate them if there's no type of adult diaper then with Ray, yes, he has to be accommodated to the restroom, and so that's caretaking.
Mhm.
And someone having the ability to caretake, that takes some wherewithal. So I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Um, Now, as for the house that we talk about, it was mentioned that the house has no septic tank from Patrick and Eric. They both said that there's a creek behind the house, and basically the toilet has a pipe that runs from the toilet directly out into the creek. And for that reason, the state sees that as that being a condemned property.
Absolutely.
Uh, so moving forward in the conversation, as far as them coming back home and their status of being states wards of the state, you would initially think, yes, they can't come back unless there is some type of plumbing going on. There is some type of caretaking going on. So that I don't see this being an overnight thing. I don't, you know, this could go on a while. I'll just say that. This Timmy, if he's with his mother, I hope that they kept them together. But if they didn't, I would hate that. But as far as it being just boom and they come back, it would take a miracle at this point.
They would, and I hope they keep them together. But it's if they're going to place them in a home, it might be a little tougher. But the thing that I want to go back to is, like you said, this is not going to be an overnight thing. No way in hell.
Yeah.
And one reason why is because if you're Eric or whoever is going to be over helping finance his home, his new home, which we know that's going to be the Amish, you're not going to spend money on this old property to get proper sewage running
Right.
through this home. You're not going to do that. I don't believe the Amish is going to be doing that either,
No.
unless somebody's going to spend money out of their pocket, either Eric or Patrick, which
It would have to be. It would have to be Patrick at this point, and I don't. The Amish connection came from Eric, so I think honestly, I think the whole Amish situation it's done. It's in the ground at this point if Eric isn't involved, unless the Amish just have that like, hey, we're gonna do and they do something, but. From where it's at now, it's Patrick, and I guess Patrick's trying to get some lawyer or whatnot to help them get back. Because as far as them coming back, um, the lawyer there has to be a petition for an adult. There has to be a petition, and there has to be a review of the petition, and the review entails them going and seeing, just like they went and seen no plumbing, just how they went and seen whatever they seen before. They got to come back and see that everything's okay before. And as far as Patrick, he's at the point where he's like, they can come stay at my house. So I think that may be the route that he tries to go as far as fixing his house up enough. I don't know if his house has a septic tank, but I would assume so. Um,
I believe I don't think it's over as far as the Amish building his new home. I think maybe Eric has him like on pause, on hold, like just give me a second. We don't run into a hiccup here and there. I'll get back with you in X amount of days, and we'll discuss whether we're going to go forward or we're just going to cut it loose. I believe that may be the case if he have that type of relationship with these guys. But I see what I see happening is either he's going to communicate with Larry and Betty and see where their mind at. What do you want? You don't want my help? Cool. I'll walk away from this. Yeah, heartbroken because I think he really loves Timmy. I do believe Eric really loves Timmy for some reason.
Yeah.
But he has to communicate with those two because they're going to be the head of the household, so to speak.
Yeah.
To get the other three back, they have to have a great living arrangement, and that's where Eric wants the money to be spent for this family. How long is that going to take for them to build this house, bro? That's going to be a while.
Yeah, yeah. It's not nothing overnight. Not nothing overnight at all. Yeah, I think it's far as Eric communicating, as you mentioned, you said it would take something from as far as Eric communicating with Betty and Larry. I think Eric has, for lack of better words, burnt his bridge with Betty and Larry.
How? But because of Larry, I don't think he burnt his bridge with Betty.
Well, I think Betty burnt her bridge. Then let me say it the opposite way. I think Betty and Larry, I think Betty and Larry have burnt their bridge with Eric, and I think that's the way. I think that's why I threw that for lack of better words because I do feel like Betty and Larry, Betty, Larry, and Patrick right now. That's the game. You know, Patrick sat there, went live, and seen the ambulance coming, them taking him and crying, and that all that builds a bond. And I think that bond, at this point, I don't think the bond of Patrick, Betty, and Larry will allow Eric to even be involved in anything else. I'll just say that because it's too strong there. It's too strong there.
So
And
do you think
Patrick,
it's over?
I do think it will take some communication. You can solve a lot with communication, but for it to continue, for that tumbleweed to continue down the road in the way it was going with the Amish, I do think that there will have to be some reconciliation between Patrick and Eric. And with
Most
that
definitely.
would come, you said what?
No, you're right. I said most definitely.
And I think with that, the reconciliation with Betty and Larry would happen by proxy or by default. But the way that this thing has gotten so messy with the text messages and oh man, it's been so much. I'm looking at a text message screenshots that Eric put up where Patrick's asking, "Can I borrow some money on the Whittaker account until our next payday so I can buy these windows?" Windows he's talking about for his house. In which he responds, "Bro, they need that money. We got to get the trust and all that set up. They need that other 2,500 over. Uh, they only got 1,000 out of their 3,000 from last month. I know you're saying you bought them stuff out of it, but this is the main thing. That stresses me out with this. Patrick, is the money I had to pay for the website. We're going to have to pay for the security guard. Unfortunately, they don't have any money right now." And when it comes to the money, this will be, I guess, a segue into the whole money discussion, but it's a big clusterfuck to me. I think I have good discernment, but it's hard trying to figure out, he says account or, he says monetization, and which is that monetization from YouTube? Is that monetization from Facebook? It's just a lot going on, man. So
Yeah. And well, of course, we have several different pages, excuse me. And
yeah,
comes to YouTube, the money's only gonna go into one account. Unless they
right.
know something I don't know about where it can be going to two separate accounts.
Well,
One person is over this account. And I'm
right.
assuming it's Eric.
Yeah, and I think it is too. I do know on YouTube AdSense you can add another managing user, but as far as the payout, I
Payout.
don't. Payout. So To me, and this is just my viewer, I think Eric may have been getting, I mean, Patrick may have been getting the money from Facebook, and Eric have been getting the money from YouTube, because you hear on one hand Eric say he wanted to get the 5,000 from Patrick, to get it out of, to so he can give that to the Amish. Then you see on this text where Patrick says, "Can I borrow some of the money from the Whittaker's account until our next payday so I can buy?" So it's like, I think there's different streams of income. It's very it's very convoluted. Well, not say convoluted, but it's very complicated. I think as far as the money, and Eric seems to have done a great job with his receipts. If all of those were receipts, and he showed a wallet with a lot of receipts, and he shows a notepad that has all of the expenses, I guess, that he spent on the Whittakers. And I don't know if that was done on the other side. I tend to think probably not, just because the difference in people. Like Eric, he's a content creator. He deals with this stuff, and he seems a little more, as far as business sense, seems a little more here with it. But
Yeah, because YouTube, you gotta remember, you only get paid once a month. I don't know
once a
how
month.
Facebook do it.
Yeah, I don't know either. But yeah, you're right. Once a month when it come to YouTube. And they started this 2 months ago, so that would mean either 2 to 3 checks that they have gotten from YouTube. I don't know as far as the Facebook, how that looks. I don't know. They said they keep mentioning, both of them have mentioned there's 5 platforms, and I would assume it's YouTube, Facebook, IG, Twitter maybe, and then they have the
TikTok.
website. You
Oh,
said what?
I was thinking TikTok.
I don't know if that, well, I don't even know if they got a Twitter, to be honest. But yeah, I know one of them is the website, because that website did pop up at a certain point in time. But the money situation is, it's just,
No contracts. None of no paperwork to say who get a percentage of this and who get a percentage of that. So
yeah,
you got to go with what they give you. So it is what it is. You can call them some thieves or whatever, but
it's almost like an entertainment lawyer would be needed to almost do this part of it, even before the donations for the house. An entertainment lawyer would be needed to just sift through all of this, because it is a lot, man. It is a lot.
we talking about a competent person, though, bro. Do you think Betty and Larry are competent to know to understand what a contract and the ins and out, the little side notes here and small print right here? No, bro.
Hey, I think a couple video, I went in on that a couple videos ago. Even with having a trustee, like, even that part of it is like, how are Betty and Larry competent enough to know who to go with, to know, like, because there's nobody around besides Betty and Larry who
Right.
are in the family. It's like, there is a very touchy. It's very touchy.
Very.
What part of the money that they were owed off the monetization wasn't making it to him? I guarantee you that money didn't. I have no idea. When I did take donations that one time for the Airbnb, I think 10 minutes later I said stop, because I did not want to. I really didn't want to do it in the first place. Look how long I've been in West Virginia now, guys. I didn't have it to take that hit. You saw what we got.
And another thing, I just wanted to, I guess, point out. I really, I guess I would like to know Eric's intention as far as, I guess, making it seem like he wasn't there anymore, because this was the day he did come back, and he was like, plot twist, I'm still in West Virginia, guys. Like, and everybody, or myself, maybe I missed something in between, but I could swear I thought I remember hearing him saying he's headed back to Georgia and he's with his family. And then he says on this day, like, plot twist, I'm still here in West Virginia. And I kind of want to know what was the, I guess, the thinking behind that aspect.
I believe personally his intentions was to go back to Georgia, but then I think so much happened in a short period of time, and my timeline could be off, but I think maybe things started to look a little shady on his buddy Patrick's end. Things that maybe came out, and like I said, my timeline might be off, but maybe he says, you know what, I can't leave, not right now. Shit starting to hit the fan, and I'd be here to protect who I can. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think he did it purposely to trick anyone. So
I mean, I can see that. I can see that.
I was transparent with you there too. That was more than the first month's pay. Anyway, I put a stop to it. We have to know what's coming in. I don't want to battle with Uncle Sam. I don't know if you guys have ever been in one, but you got to let them know what's going on.
And that goes back to Mark. When Mark was involved, Mark said he paid the taxes on that money before, you know, he was over that GoFundMe account, $170,000 between two different GoFundMes. And he said, yeah, I paid the taxes because I knew Betty and Larry would, you know. So, and I know Eric heard that when he said that, because he knows, yeah, you just give them every single dollar that comes to them, and that you might be doing more harm than good with that, with this family, where, you know, Larry might end up in jail, you know, or something, you know, because of the taxes. So I get that. I do get that.
And other than that, it's just what you do. It's just what you do, man, as a decent human being. So,
yeah, again, you've been transparent since the beginning.
I can't hear you, Dwayne. Give me a second.
Oh, well, I'll just say before he gets.
I did it. Do I need to go interview the Amish? I don't know if they'll grant me an interview or not, but they're pretty honest people. And Robert Mast, John's dad, was the first one to write a check for it, dude. He cut a $500 check before the account started with. And it was just such a good plan. It was what I had been wanting the whole time. Accountability, transparency. They had a financial committee, and they were going to watch it like a hawk. And it couldn't be gamed. And I think that's where a lot of this started going south. If I'd have got that trust set up, the day I was supposed to get the trust set up, where none of the money could have been fooled around with, is the day she no-showed. And it wasn't just Adult Protection Services that she no-showed. It was the day that the trust account was to get set up to where, hey, every penny's got to be accounted for.
That's when all the challenges came in. So, I mean, you're saying there's kind of no path forward. What if?
I don't know that I want to be involved in it at this point, dude. Look at what this is causing. I don't want my family to do this. This is not what it was supposed to be. This is not what it was supposed to be at all.
And that's one thing I'll say. Eric and Patrick's recent videos, from this to the Patrick live that we may or may not watch a little bit of, they both said the same thing. This is not what it's supposed to be. Patrick did say, you know, he played some part in that. So that was some accountability that Patrick did take on his part. But I agree with both of them when they say this is not what it was supposed to be at all.
Yeah. In a partnership like this, if this is what you want to call it, between Eric and Patrick, I think you have to understand the goal.
Right.
Things happen because we did see where Eric Patrick needed money. He wanted to take some money out of the Whittaker's account from YouTube or wherever, and things like that can happen. But this is where I look at it, Jizzle, man. For real, be honest with you.
Go ahead.
Look, I think they make a lot of money every month from their YouTube account, and for him to say, okay, I need to borrow money, and then Eric say, well, we got to get this money to the Whittakers. Of course. They play a major part of this YouTube channel. I get it.
Yeah.
But when it comes to whatever he needed to borrow versus what they needed, which I'm not pocket watching nobody, I just see the way they live. It seems like they can live off of hardly nothing. But that don't mean shortchange them. What the hell what did Patrick need? What does he need? And is it the fact that he's on the road with you, Eric, doing all of this, and he's not able to take care of his home? I don't know.
There's a lot, and there's a lot of questions about as far as Patrick and the money, and Eric has said a lot. I'm not gonna go into too much about what Eric said about as far as what he was doing with the money. But yeah, that is a plausible question. So I ain't mad at you for even touching on that angle.
I was so happy to come back to Betty that day after the Amish with those papers and say, we're ready.
Done.
Went to Lorraine. I said, Lorraine, we're going to build you a house. And she shook her head. Yeah. Timmy was excited. Timmy, you're going to have your own.
And then, he goes into the seeing BJ because at that point he was still in. And that BJ, man, that was kind of the thing that I guess tipped the scale for Eric, where it's like a deal breaker for him. And he when he talks about it, it's definitely the police said this, no contact whatsoever, and then it goes back into the whole what court date, and that. So it's kind of like a circular conversation almost at this point of the story.
My mom told me a couple of days ago, she said, if you're right, and God knows you're right, then you're right. So anybody that's on here, if you want to throw rocks at a glass house, keep throwing them. Who cares? I'm going to take some fault in that failure. Before all this happened, Timmy was having a good time and going fishing and riding a Sea-Doo and, just laughing at life. Going in, eating him a sandwich with 15 pieces of bologna on it, but kind of turned into a show. And Katie Moore Whittaker don't have nothing. Nothing. Y'all people don't know what's what. Just like I said, we're not going to get in this conversation, but I can tell everybody on here, I have control over one platform, and that's my Facebook platform. The other platforms, I don't have control over them, nor do I have control over the money that goes on them. So you need to talk to somebody else about that.
It's like it's a direct conflict with that. With what we just heard and what we just heard now, it's a direct conflict. So it's like you're taking one person's word for the other. And then this gets down in the point where a lot of content creators on YouTube are just looking at, for one, who's saying the most, who's showing the most, who seems more transparent, who's looking, because it's discernment. You look at someone when they're talking and see if they seem to be telling the truth. That's all we have to go on right now with this and with these two different statements.
I look at it like the face of the NBA. You have a lot of great athletes who's playing. You got LeBron James, who's just considered the face of the NBA. But you also have Kyrie Irving, who helped him win championships. That's Patrick, bro. He's behind the camera. LeBron James, Eric is in front of the camera. So it's really, to me, it's simple to me. Eric is in control of finances. I believe this was all Eric's idea. I think he just used Patrick as the cameraman and also his assistant to help with this project, bro. You're not gonna put the cameraman in front of the camera who can't, communicate with the fans. You're not gonna do that. So who's going to be in control of everything? The face of the project. And that's Eric.
Right.
And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it just makes the most sense.
Well, I will say, yeah, Eric, he's a public speaker, as you know. You know, when we first started even doing our own little endeavors on YouTube, we weren't always as confident public speaking,
Right.
and Patrick doesn't seem to be that. Eric definitely does, and when you go to Dad Talk and you look at that channel, he's got documentary. He got, you know, so he definitely has more of a hold of social media. So I could see that. I think along with that, it's like these two. This is a project. This is a duo project. It would have had to be a lot more discussion and a lot more building as far as personality meshing, I think. And I might be getting off a little bit, but it all ties back into that communication when it comes to two different people doing something together. That's on the ground floor. That's what would have been needed for this to, and like how Eric's saying this and that about Patrick this, Patrick that, you know, Patrick did this when I first met him. The second day, he said, what he say? The second day that I met Patrick, he put me on the phone with the guy, and the guy was yet screaming in his face and saying that Patrick stole $1,500 worth of
Yes,
tools
I remember.
From his mother or from his grandfather. I can't remember. And Patrick owned up to it and said, you know, like, yeah, that's true. That's true. Which accountability? We seen accountability in this live. I think this is the one where he said, you know, maybe I did play a part in this thing not being about the three that we're here for. And when Eric, he said he's seen that accountability, and that's what's kind of made him like, okay, we can continue. You know, that of course that's gonna be a red flag, but
Absolutely.
then he kind of told the other red flags, and he's detailing every little thing that went on, and he's like, from here to where we at now, what I'll say about Eric and him knowing public perception, he's like, I'm gonna put everything that I remember out multiple times. And that's the thing about, you hear about people who say, when you talk about people who tell stories, because that's what that's what Eric is doing. He tells a story when he comes on live. He's like, this what happened, and this happened, and this, and he's told the story multiple times and it stayed the same. So I think that one fact right there, that his story really hasn't changed. There's a couple things that have changed, which as far as the date of the court date. That, and he did take accountability for that, saying, yeah, I think I might have missed, you know. So there has been things that he said as far as, you know, things that he had off or whatever. But I think the amount of dialogue that Eric has had is gonna make a lot of people feel like he's telling the truth. I'll say that.
Yeah. I mean, of course, a good speaker will make you feel that way. But I think
Right.
between the both of them, I think they came to an agreement who is going to be the speaker, who's going to be the face. And the way it's moving, the fact that Patrick got to ask Eric, I need to borrow some money from this, that tells you right there who's in charge of the finances. And it probably was done that way for a reason.
Right.
And I hope Eric don't prove me wrong coming up in the future where there's some evidence where he's been shitting people. I pray to God that's not the case. But
Yeah.
Eric has put out there that, you know, he said some bad things about Patrick. Some of it don't have anything to do with money, but some of it do. And it can be proven. And that's not cool.
Allegedly, it can be proven.
Let's stay with allegedly then. Let's stay with allegedly.
I have a video that I'll put on here a little bit later of Timmy running up the road in his socks, screaming that they're taking his mother. So that's not good. We'll also address the little drug problem. Anybody that knows me personally that'd laugh in your face. Can you people see that? I didn't get that field. Look, make sure you look real good. Okay. So I don't need rehab. I don't have a drug problem. I'm not violent. I'm not a criminal. Think whatever you want. Josh, Ernest, let me ask you a question. You tell me how in the hell that I can ransack an Airbnb with a broken leg, just getting out of the hospital, and I sat either in the bed or in the chair. So unless I'm getting woke up in the middle of the night because God gave me a third leg, you might want to think about that.
When you hear him talk, he's a little different with his approach. He's like, "Hey, man, I'm not here to defend all this shit. I'm not." It's two different people, so you're gonna get two different answers. And he's like, "Hey, it's gonna come to light. I'm here for the family. This, and he get up off of there. That's so,
It kind of reminds you of a relationship between a man and a woman. When shit hit the fan and you're no longer together, that's when everybody start talking about things that y'all may have should have talked about during this whole process of y'all going through the issues that you're going through.
Right.
If you know that the issue is this and the issue is that,
Right.
don't let that get to the public. Don't let that get to the public. Y'all fix that amongst each other, and that's one thing that I see is going to happen if they don't fix this amongst each other.
I agree. The all boils down to communication. I hope the family comes back. I feel like that'll be the biggest feel-good story of the year. Is if
Absolutely.
them three getting back to that family. So I'll leave it at that.
I agree with you 100%. We're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. Thank y'all for tuning in. We'll be back with another update, whether it's here, bank page, or YJ the author, the man of himself. But we're gonna holler at y'all next time with another Whittaker family update.